Jim, the last 2 weeks we've had conversations relating to aspects of the third chakra. We talked about judgment and we talked about resistance. And we got a number of responses and a curiosity about the other aspect of the third chakra, control. And one of the questions I've gotten is, how is control an okay thing? The person emailing was trying to work it into control as a good thing. And I didn't quite have an explanation for her. So I want to run it by you and see if we can come up with a good answer for her.
Okay, all right, let's try this. So what we said was the third chakra in the format of a first chakra that's all about survival, not well-being, survival. Power, control, judgment, and resistance. So we've done judgment and resistance, but power and control seem to go pretty much hand in hand. And when you get into a situation where you're controlling something, control is very different than manage. Manage has a fluidness to it. Manage has an allowing to it. Manage allows for certainty and command, and this is how we're going to do this, or we need to do this. But it also has room for, let's talk about this. Whereas control, when a person is control, words like fear, domination, have to, force.
And there's perfect pictures involved.
Oh,
absolutely. It has to happen this way.
Perfect pictures being, this is the, you're right, this is the only way this can happen.
Yeah.
There's no fluidness, flexibility, mobility in that. There's no allowing in that. So again, management versus control. Power, there's a level of power where somebody who is in charge basically has a given state of power. But when power is used as force, then it also is a manner of controlling something. And so power and control go very much together. And to a great extent, there's an aspect of how we see the world, how we grew up in the world, that we don't ever examine. It just is. And it's an unconscious nature of how the world works this way, so in order for me to get mine, I have to do this.
So that's competition, that's take advantage of, that kind of thing.
Push out of the way,
Yeah.
I'm going to step on you in order for me to get what I want. Control. And control and force and control and power all come together. But when you start to play in a more understandable manner, when you begin to have a sense of yourself, when you begin to have a sense of engaging with rather than dominating over, the ability to start to get into co-creation, cooperation begins to play out. People will go through a whole phase of their experience, very much a third chakra spiritual experience of playing in control. And it's kind of one of the games in the evolutionary process. You recognize that control versus cooperation really doesn't work as well. But a lot of people, when they're in fear, when they're in that first chakra, survival, the ego, the rational mind, the I have to prove myself, my father wants me, my mother said, they used to laugh at me in school, I'll show them. All of those past experiences very much dictate how a person steps into power. You look at those to a great extent, this is not completely correct, but you look at a lot of the people that are in power in terms of politics today, or in terms of playing the corporate management game. They have to make it up the ladder. They have to take advantage of, they have to beat the other one. So this word competition is one of the really ugly words in the vocabulary. I mean, even playing tennis or a sport competition, really the sport is about banging the tennis ball over the net, to be masterful and beat the opponent, not beat the opponent so that I'm better than. So that's that controlling competition. This is one of these really challenging words in power and control that is in the coming times, in everybody's reality, they play in control and power, resistance and judgment.
Yeah.
And so where you can begin to recognize, how do you manage your children? How do you engage with your husband, wife? How do you come into agreement versus this is how it will be?
And how do you be powerful from a place of grace rather than powerful from a place of push?
Oh, absolutely. And see, this word graciousness, which is one of the 7 words that we really use to set the whole foundation of the work that we do, graciousness is not a third-dimensional word.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a word in push and shove and control and judgment, domination, and all of that type of word. Graciousness is an act. It's a state of being that is powerful. Don't misunderstand. Graciousness has tremendous power, but it's power of cooperation, it's power of influence, it's power of creating 1 + 1 = 3, so everybody has well-being. Very different sense of power and control in graciousness and co-creation than in what we play with. As this shift of consciousness unfolds, understanding the difference between co-creation, cooperation, graciousness, kindness, and control, domination, competition is a very fundamental piece, third chakra piece, that when begun to be understood, the opportunity to step into a higher dimensional realm is what's going to be available. But words like doubt and self-judgment are very much fundamental to power and control and dominations and prove it and I'm better than. And this is one of the pieces that if others will pay attention to themselves, things will change.
And along those lines, what I'm noticing, it's almost like this transition that we're talking about, this shift, is a third chakra transition. Because we're seeing a lot of resistance, control, power, and judgment in the world out there, in the current events. And we humans are taking that in, or being affected by it, we'll say, and our own internal resistance, control, power, and judgment are coming up.
Sure. So let's go back to something we've said all along. This shift is both internal and external, and the external is the mirror of your internal. So what you're watching externally is what you think, act, believe, play in internally. Not perfectly matched, but a lot of what is showing up in your face, if you can find a place of
Grace.
Again, those fundamental tools and grace where you're in balance. This is who I am. Focused, grounded, clear, centered. In those places, you can look at some of the ugliness and then ask yourself, where do I do that? Now, it may be just a little piece. It may be a big piece, but it's your baggage. It's what you're carrying, and you can't take your baggage with you on this journey. So everything you're watching is very much a spiritual event that is creating opportunity for each one of us to let go of, get rid of, begin to step out of the resistance, step out of the power and the control and all of the judgments, and basically recognize that person over there is really just like you. They are you and you are they. They may have different color, a different sex, a different job, a different reality, a different wealth. They are you. And as that's understood, and you basically realize, this is my mirror, and I'm on a journey, then this game is going to be very successful for each who understands this.
Exciting.
And at the same time, if you don't let go of, if you stay in that place of, I'll show them and I have to be right, it is going to be an uncomfortable journey over the next 5, 10, 15 years particularly. Very big shifting things are right on the horizon that are not seen. I can tell you this is coming. And letting go of this baggage is really, really going to be important to everybody.